I am so excited you are joining us for today's episode with the one and only Jim Carter, who also, by the way, rocks the best mustache I've ever seen. And he's my ideal client. He has no hair anymore. So, Jim and I got really into the good stuff with what podcast is, why we're starting Fast Foundations Mastermind podcast, and just the importance of what this mastermind has done for our business and our lives. For over 2 decades, Jim has had a passion for technology and it has shined through projects of all sizes and industries. After seeing firsthand the power tech has to make a greater impact, Jim has dedicated his life to giving change makers the tools they need to succeed and thrive. As a passionate technology coach, Jim uses his 20 plus years of knowledge, expertise, and experience to advise social impact organizations, brands, and experts. That's a mouthful, isn't it? Jim is the founder of Carter and Custer, an agency providing growth and content services for purpose driven brands and organizations of all sizes. Jim is an Eagle Scout, entrepreneur, husband and father of two, public speaker, and trainer in the industry. Not only that, Jim is a dear friend. He is the most compassionate, thoughtful, kind, warm human I have had the pleasure of becoming friends with in the last 3 years. Jim resides in LA. He enjoys a fine cup of coffee, much like myself, and the occasional glass of whiskey. And like I said, rocks that mustache like nobody's business. In this episode, we're going to dive into the things I talked about, the power of community, why masterminds are important, and why Fast Foundations podcast even exists. I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. If you love it, please, please, please send it to somebody else who could get just as much information value out of it. And we'll see you inside. Welcome to the Fast Foundations podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Bergio, and I'm joined today by one of the other hosts of the show, Jim Carter. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Jess.
Welcome to your own show. How does that feel?
It feels right. I'm so excited to be here.
I know, right? It feels right. This all feels so right. So let's give the listeners a little taste of who we are, why we started this podcast, and what Fast Foundations really means to both of us. Because I think we have such a passion for masterminds in general, but we also have such a passion for people, which is why you are now one of the new owners of Fast Foundations Mastermind, along with R.T. Custer and any other super fans like myself who are clawing their way back in to be a part of this amazing new journey that you guys are taking, moving it from Chris and Lori Harder into Jim and R.T. with Carter and Custer. I think this next wave of what we're doing is going to be exceptional. And I, for one, am honored to be a part of it with you. And I'm so grateful that you've given me the opportunity to step in and podcast with you guys. So let's tell people a little bit about what Fast Foundations is.
Absolutely. And we're excited to have you part of this, just like so many alumni who have reached out to us ever since they heard that we were breathing new life into the program and bringing it back to just keep impacting others. And that's actually the best segue that I could say is it's just an impact powerhouse, right? What's fascinating about the Fast Foundations program is Chris and Larry Harder and Nick as well started this back in 2019, and we know this because we were in the very first round. Both of us raised our hand,
Woo, woo.
terrified, had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, and tried something new, and it absolutely changed our life.
Yes.
And it's not because the program changed our life. It's because the program gave us the container to show up and do the work. And that's really the thing that we felt was missing, is a program that continues to pour into others, entrepreneurs of all sizes, but primarily early stage entrepreneurs, and just give them the ability with the community, the accountability, the resources, the coaching, the programs, and just give them space to do what they need to do. And it worked for us. Like, we are success stories, and I'm so grateful that I found it back then, and I'm grateful I found you and RT. I mean, RT and I met in Fast Foundations, like this is what we're going to talk about. But the Fast Foundations program is still the quickest way to grow your early stage business, and we're really, really honored and excited to pick up the torch and just continue to grow that program and to continue providing resources so entrepreneurs can get out of their own way and make a big impact in the world.
Right. And that's the wonderful thing about an ongoing program like Fast Foundations, because things are ever changing, they're ever evolving. It's not a do this course or program in 2019 and all those things still apply in 2022 or going into 2023 now almost. So the fact that you are still adding more resources to the library, you're building on top of the community that's already there. It's not like you don't continuously need support as an entrepreneur. And the foundations that I learned in this were, I mean, fundamental for me moving forward in my life and my business. And it's connections like you and I have that have created some best friends in my life, that have given me people that I can have high level conversations with to keep pursuing my big dreams and to keep staying on the entrepreneur path, because it can get difficult. But the thing that's difficult is you don't know things that you don't know. So when you have people in the community that this mastermind provides, it just gives you all the confidence in the world to try the things that maybe you wouldn't have tried before, or to ask the scary questions that you think everybody else knows the answers to. And I think that's what this container provides, is that safe space for people to get to explore what it is that they want to do, and in what capacity and with who. It's like we were put in these boxes early on in our careers, our lives maybe even, and we don't always give ourselves the room to grow and dream. And so investing at this level was super scary for me, but also introduced me to wonderful people like you who made me see things differently and were open to having conversations, even though it seemed like maybe we didn't have too much in common as far as business. So I'm forever grateful that this came across my path and that I said yes to it, even though it was super scary. I don't know about you. Was it a little bit intimidating for you to join the mastermind? Was this your first taste of being a part of something like this?
Yeah, it absolutely was. For me, I can remember viscerally the feeling of where I was when I actually hit checkout and I
Me
opted to
too.
go to that. Can you too? I don't know if we ever
Yes.
talked about that.
No.
I remember for me, we were at the mall, like I was with the family, and I'd been talking with Val, my wife, about this kind of thing, and this was an opportunity for me, and I was thinking about it, and she's not so much an entrepreneur. She has entrepreneurial tendencies, and she's excited to get into that in the future, but she is my biggest fan, and she supports me, and she sees what I'm capable of and what I want to do in life. So, when I told her about it, she's like, "That's great." When I told her the price, she was like, "Wow, fascinating. What are you going to do with that? How are we going to make that back?" Like the healthy challenges. And, I remember having that conversation with her, and I was like, "I don't know yet." And that's okay, because I was stuck in that I don't know what I don't know paradox, right? Like you absolutely nailed it. And until somebody just like grabs you by the shoulders and shakes you and it's like, it's okay that you don't know what you don't know. The question is, now that I'm going to teach you that, are you willing to say, all right, now I do know about this and what am I going to do with it? And I realized I was missing that component. There were so many things that I felt like I was lacking, not just from a business acumen side, but from a personal side. I hadn't invested in personal development up until that point. I wasn't reading books. I had given that up for a while. Like I was in a state of lack. And I remember we were at the mall. The girls are walking around. For all the new listeners here, I have two beautiful daughters, surrounded by females in my world. As everybody
Lucky.
here, yeah, very lucky. And I remember we were at the mall, and I had this checkout page open on my phone. I was just staring at it. It was all filled out, credit card information, everything. And finally, I just hit it, and I was like, I just walked over to Val, gave her a kiss, and was like, "I'm in. I'm done." Put my phone away, and I knew that I had committed and I had resolved to something bigger than myself. And that was just such a great feeling. It was something that I didn't have previously. And that's why I'm so excited to just continue that and to keep offering that for so many other entrepreneurs that I know are feeling the same way that I did. What about you?
Yes.
Where were
Oh,
you when it happened? How did it play out?
For those watching us on YouTube, I have got literally goosebump chills on my arms, because when you said the visceral feeling, I was sitting in my car in my parking space at my apartment down at the beach, and it was February. It was I believe right when he launched it. I think we started in March of 2019. I think it was early February, and my business and life was pretty good. Like I was in a really good state and a really good place. My background is in the beauty industry, 22 years behind the chair, salon owner, makeup artist. I was doing really, really well. And I had vowed when I got separated from my son's dad that I wouldn't wait for shit to get bad in order for me to take action to support myself. So I thought to myself, here is this great program by two people that I adore and have watched their journey as to what these types of containers have done for them. I've watched their careers 10x. I've watched their things blow up and them grow personally. And I think I was at a point not only where I was tired of watching other people have awesome life and business success, I was also like, is this as good as it's going to get for me? Because I also had been put in those boxes of like, do the thing, be successful, stay in your lane, be grateful, don't want for too much more, don't talk about money, all of those kind of like conditioned beliefs. And luckily, the words accidental entrepreneur were spoken one day, and it called me. And I said, that is what I am. I admit that. And it's awesome to have like a title. Sometimes want to put a name to something. I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. And 20 years into my career, I was like, well, shit, they're talking about online and marketing. And I had built my whole business without any of that. So I really was such a stubborn person when it came to, I don't need that. I don't do that. I don't know how to do that. And like I said, I was at a point in business where things were pretty good. And if they stayed that way for the next couple of years, I might have been okay. But I knew if I could just put the gas pedal down a little bit harder in other areas, wow, what else could be possible? So I too saw the amount and was like, shit. I had been craving something like a foundational business course, but I didn't know where to go or who to get it from or who to trust. And I'm not good with just like doing a quick online program. I need community. I need accountability. I need some bit of structure. I'm a dreamer. So, yes, when I saw that it was up, I looked at the price and I was like, okay, you want to rationalize it, right? What's the ROI going to be? So I was like, well, let's see. Would I be okay with just getting a couple high level friends out of this that I could have these conversations with that would understand that it's okay that I want more? And that alone was enough for me to just hit buy now. And it was like a full body yes because I was like, if I don't do this, how will I feel? FOMO, like serious FOMO. I will feel like I'm missing out. I will feel like I'm not giving myself permission to grow and expand. And so, yeah, I took a bite out of I got a credit card that had 0% interest. And I said, I will not pay this credit card back unless it's money I make from this avenue of investing in myself. And that's exactly what I did. And it was a different journey than a lot of people that were already say known entrepreneurs or already had some movement in that side of their business, which would be online stuff. So it was slightly different for me. And I really thought, man, no one's going to be like me in the group. I'm not going to be able to relate to anybody in the group. I'm going to be the only one who doesn't know all these things. What value do I have to offer to the group? I was so intimidated, but I knew that I had to do it for myself. And so that was the full body yes, that I knew that no matter what, I had to be in that group. And I was blown away at like what I was able to get out of it in just the first few calls and the first few in person. So, I mean, game changer.
It was. And I'm also respectful that it's not like that for everybody, right? And
Totally.
and that's okay. But again, it's the if you don't know what you don't know, how would you be able to compare? And I remember it took me a while to get that full body yes, but in my example, it was I was standing there and I was just like, okay, it's time. Like I'm not going to be stuck in indecision. I need to make a decision. I have to do something. And for me, it was the if not this, then what else? And I think we were similar in that case. And it just so happened that we met now lifelong friends. We met business partners. We met people who fundamentally would have a conversation with that would change our perspective. And all of those things are just the reason why, regardless of the actual mastermind itself, just getting in the same room, just being around people who share similar ethos, they want better for the world, they want to have good communication, conversations, just interacting with others at a really high level. That was worth the price of admission alone. So I love that story. I don't think I ever asked you about that piece, but it's great to know that we were both feeling the same animosity in the beginning, and now looking back, I can't imagine what life would be like if I hadn't actually committed.
I know. I can't either. I think I mean we could do a whole other podcast about
I
like
think we're
this.
going to.
I think hey, good thing we have a show now. We got a platform to do it. You guys, this is just a key point as to like what could transpire if you just show up, right? If you just put some skin in the game too. So let's get some like detailed questions because if people are listening and they're like mastermind, cool, I've heard that term. It's fairly new-ish, but it seems to be popping off just like coaching and business coaching and programs and there's so much more information out there and so many more programs for people to be a part of. What does a mastermind mean to you in the sense of like what is your definition of let's say a mastermind? Can we define it, do you think?
I think we can define it because it can be completely subjective. To
Right.
me, a mastermind is a collective of like minds that are all together for a similar purpose. And it's different for everybody. Some people join masterminds because They just need more sales. Some people join because they just want to make new friends. Some people join because they want to learn from the mentors. Other people join for coaching. Other people join for community. Other people join for accountability. There's so many things that different masterminds offer. It's okay. You can identify it with whatever makes sense to you. But for me, what I realized that I was missing, I digress for a second. When I joined Fast Foundations, I thought I was missing business acumen, right? When I joined, I was probably on my 18th rodeo, right? I've been running businesses, trying stuff, failing, trying it again. That one worked, sell that off, close that, do another partnership. That's been my hustle for, about 20 years. And while I'm proud of what I've built and the businesses that I've done, and I'm a certified B Corp founder and working on my second, and I've built massive platforms in the past as both an engineer and a founder, I never quite got that extreme gratification of accomplishing something just so much bigger than myself. That was just a personal thing. And when I left my last startup, that was objectively successful, 50 plus employees, it was certified B Corp, multi-7-figure business that I was really proud to build, I still was missing something and I wasn't sure what it was. So I had joined this mastermind thinking, okay, Chris, Lori, Nick, Carter, teach me what I'm missing. You guys have figured it out. Just teach me business. Even though I thought I knew business, I was like, I must be missing something. Again, I was stuck in that I don't know what I don't know thing. What I found was I actually knew what I knew with business. I knew how to do the things, but what I was lacking was a lot of the personal stuff. I realized I wasn't as proud of the things that I had accomplished in the past as I should have been. I wasn't taking credit for the things that I was really proud in. I realized how interconnected all this was. In fact, the very first day of the very first session of the very first event, it was all about mindset. And I was just like, what are we doing here? When are we going to talk about business?
No,
Come
teach me
on.
the things, right?
I need to know how to, are you doing your balance sheets differently? What is it? But it wasn't until I realized that business should be more of a reflection of life and what you want out of it. But unless you are truly treating your life the same as your business goals, you're not going to get there. And it just dawned on me that the reason that we were drawn to these entrepreneurs who launched this mastermind program is not because of what they did in business. It's because of who they are as people, right? I got to learn about Chris and Lori because they were honored by Lewis Howes at the Summit of Greatness for their philanthropy. And I ended up sitting next to Lori's assistant at the time. And she was like, that's my boss. I was like, oh, cool. Tell me more about her. What I realize now in perspective is the reason that I was so drawn to what they built is because of their giving spirit, that they're just good people. And I realized, well, I'm a good person too. What am I missing? And that unlocked so much for me. And sure, anybody can watch Tony Robbins' event. Anybody can jump and do some mindfulness stuff. You can download Headspace. You can, do the stuff. But until you're in a space where it's safe to raise your hand and say, I don't know, I'm freaking out, help me, somebody pour into me. I just need one conversation, that kind of stuff is priceless. And a mastermind to me is the opportunity to find what you need out of it. That's what it did for me. And that's what we're so excited to continue, is just to blend the personal side with the business side, and then allow for people to collaborate and just find what they need out of it.
Hey, I'm so glad you're here joining us for the launch of the Fast Foundations podcast. I have an opportunity that can massively change your business. When I joined the very first round of the Fast Foundations Mastermind, I felt stuck in my business because I didn't know what I didn't know. All I knew is I wanted access to more tools to scale my business, more examples of what's possible, and more like-minded entrepreneurs looking for the same. The next round of Fast Foundations Mastermind starts this September. This 6-month in-person mastermind was built for you. Join the next group of entrepreneurs that go from idea to owning their own business, from burnt out to having solid systems in place. We can't wait to see you in one of those seats. For more information, click the link in our show notes or just head to fastfoundations.com to learn more about this round and future opportunities we have coming up. So good. I mean, we could end the podcast there. It's so juicy and yummy. And I love that you shared the mindset piece because as now a coach over the last couple of years, it's interesting what I thought a coach had to provide for the client. It was this massive transformation. It was like, I have to teach you something new. There has to be something I'm giving you that's the secret sauce. But the secret sauce is always within the person, you, me. It's the mindset that we can also achieve greatness, have the things like Lewis Howes has, be a philanthropist, and do all of the big, great give backs that Chris and Lori do too. And I love that you were so drawn to that. It doesn't surprise me because I know you're a good person. That's why I'm drawn to you too. And whenever we see something in somebody else, I now know that's because we see that gift in ourselves too. It's a mirror back of something we maybe want to have for our life. And it's such a great tool to use to see what's possible. And that is also why getting in a room that we call a mastermind is so important because you start to see things in yourself that you didn't know existed or you weren't giving credit to, like that credibility piece you weren't giving yourself for all the things you had accomplished and done. And I too look back and think of all the things I had done and never really gave myself credit for. It was just like next thing, next thing, next thing, almost like a proving ground of what, like where was I going? And I think being a dreamer and a creative, it has helped hone in on what do I really want for my life and business, and having these conversations in these safe places with people who support your big dreams and sometimes tell you your dream isn't big enough, or hey, have you thought about this? It's a lot of times knowing, wow, I really do have what it takes. I do have the skill set. I just needed the safe place to grow into this next version of myself. And that alone is so powerful because, yes, you can go to Google University and find out how to start a podcast, how to start an online business, how to do XYZ. It's all there. It's all there for us to take. And it's then what do you do with it? And where do you find the support to continue doing it and to do it well? And to not give up when days are tough and to not quit when it didn't work out the first 10 times. Those are the times where you need the community that this mastermind provides. And I think you and I are a testament, and RT too, our other host of the podcast and the co-owner of Fast Foundations Mastermind. We all met in this container. And I feel like, RT and you are a bit of like Nick Carter, right? So if you guys don't know who Nick Carter is, go find him. He tries to hide on social media, but he exists. And then there's people like Chris, where I see a huge part of you and RT and what Chris and Lori stood for as well. And so it's to me such a beautiful like blend of everything we've learned, all the experiences we've had over the last couple of years, and you guys too in the back 20 years, my 20 years and what I've done, to now be able to keep pouring into the next generation of those early stage entrepreneurs who need that support. And I actually want to just take a moment to honor Chris and Lori for passing the torch to you guys in the takeover because they are now serving a different audience and their message is for their ideal client now, which isn't necessarily what it once was. And so I think I'd like to just take a moment and honor them for seeing the greatness in the two of you and just really supporting you guys and taking this over and to continue the legacy and to just build upon it because they set you up to win for sure. But it's going to take the two of you and the team to be able to create what the next generation of leaders need. And I know that's why I'm like, let me get the coattails. I'm coming with you. I'm here and I'm excited for the future. Like literally, I'm sure you guys can hear it in my voice. I talk really fast when I get excited, but there is no other group that I would want to associate myself with more than Fast Foundations Mastermind. So, hence why I'm here and hence why I weaseled my way into being a co-host of this show.
And that's why we're doing it. Yeah, thank you, Jess. And I also want to I want to back you up on that we do honor them, and it's because they were willing to put this program together. They were very clear in the beginning that this was their give back component, right? It still made them money, like they're entrepreneurs, they're business people, but at the same time, they weren't looking to build a very profit rich, like massively wealthy business off of this. It was an experiment. And they said multiple times in the program, they're like, welcome to our semi-organized shit show. Like, we're going to figure this out together. What do you need? And it was great because we felt part of something bigger, and we knew that we could ask them questions, and we weren't going to get a shaded response. We were going to get their real answers, because why were they going to be there to lie to us? And we just had this connection with them. And the more that we got to know them and what they were in for, why they were in it is what I meant to say there. We realized that it could be so much more. And you nailed it, which is they got to a point where they just needed to evolve as entrepreneurs and humans, as a couple, and just as people. And in 2019, Lori was still kind of finishing up doing fitness things, realistically. Chris was still between a lot of different projects, but since then they've taken on a lot of investments. They've moved on to their own kind of businesses and legacy companies. And it broke our hearts when we heard that they wanted to shut it down, but we understood because, like everyone, we all evolve. Us taking this over, is an evolution of us, which we're so damn excited for. But when we talked to Chris about it, when we had that first call, we proposed the idea of flat out buying this from him and turning it into something bigger. We had this conversation. We're like, dude, we can do this better than you because you didn't want to grow it big. We believe in the power of really getting this to be big, not losing the bespokeness and the personal aspect, and not saying that it's so big that you're not going to feel that connection. But they never really wanted to grow the online community bigger than a Facebook page, for example. And that's okay because that was manageable for him and that was part of the flow. We've already built a custom community for this group to serve where we want to go with it. And there's so many of these little things that we can take our experience in and apply it. And again, we wouldn't have the ability to do that. I take that back. We would have had the ability, but we wouldn't have seen it clear enough without the program itself, which is why it's such a beautiful story of reciprocity. And they're still involved. Chris is going to be part of the next few events still here coming up and teaching. Lori and Nick always have a seat when they can make it, and we love to include them along the way because they're not just the original founders of it. Their ethos continues through it, and we love that about them. So I just wanted to take that moment to also edify them because we wouldn't be here or connected without them. And I'm so grateful that that was an opportunity for us back in 2019. And now the opportunity is just profound and we're excited to hit it. And that's why we're doing this podcast. We're doing these shows. We're taking all of the knowledge that we've learned just in these last 3 years. Like, we're recording this mid 2022. And all of this happened in 3 short years. So I can't even wait to see what's going to happen in the next 3.
I know, me neither. I literally tell that story about it only being 3 years. And it's been such a incredible 3 years for me personally, professionally, financially, in so many facets, friendship wise, you name it. And it's not to say that it's all been easy, but it's grown me so much quicker because I've had the community to allow that space to grow. And yeah, that's one of those things when you take a chance and you bet on yourself and put yourself in situations like this, you really don't ever know what the greatness is going to be. I guarantee though, you come out, and if you don't, come find me. I guarantee if you do something like this, you're going to be a better human for it in any capacity whatsoever, whether it's one of those couple categories I just rattled off. Okay, so Jim, let me ask you some specific questions because we talked a little bit about how much we've loved this and how you've taken it over and the importance of all of it. But can you trace back any specific wins or successes, maybe back to an idea that you had during the mastermind that have moved the needle for you in your business or even just in your mindset alone?
Absolutely. I'll give you 3 quick examples that are
Ooh.
top of mind. So the very first one is one I already alluded to, which is I didn't realize until I was part of this program how much I was leaving on the table, not from a revenue perspective or from an opportunity perspective, but how much of me that I wasn't acknowledging until I took the time to actually be centered as a person and be really proud of the things I've accomplished. It was the beautiful mix of the way that the program was built, where it's not just all about business. It has to start with getting out of your own way and getting out of your own head. It's okay to not know where you're going in full. It's okay to not have a clear path. And I'm the engineer, right? I've been a software engineer since I started playing with building Frankenstein computers when I was 14. And I've been a software engineer for over 2 decades. So for me, it's incredibly hard to hit go, turn it up to 11, and not know where I'm going. It's stressful. It brings anxiety into my world. And as an entrepreneur, it's sometimes it's paralyzing. Like I will just sit like, man, but I just don't know. And when it gets hard, if you don't have that personal balance, you forget where you're going. You forget why you care. You forget why you even are choosing to go down that road or even turn it up to 11. So the first thing that I got out of it was realizing how proud I should be of what I've accomplished that's led me to this. And if you're listening and you don't feel you have anything you're proud of, that's also okay. But to be able to sit with that and realize, well, now's your opportunity to make something, that's important too. For me, I was on the other side of that. I had worked my ass off for years and years and years. And from the outside in, I don't see what other people see in me. And it was because I was in that program that people were able to just slap me across the face and be like, dude, have you listened to your accomplishments? And that fundamentally changed me. Like, I can't think about my mindset previous that anymore. I'm so now conditioned. And it's not like it's a pride thing, but it's not an ego thing. I don't get stuck with an ego, but I now am so resolved and proud of the things I've accomplished that fires me up to do more things. Like pick up a mastermind and teach and coach. And until you realize that you've got that within you, you just don't know what you're missing. So that was the first thing, was just the awareness of what I was capable of by taking a minute and realizing where I've been. That was the first thing.
Love that.
The second thing that comes to mind is the conversations that you don't expect that end up changing everything for you. So without naming specific names and topics, as we won't get into all of that, what I loved about the mastermind when I first joined was I was the only tech guy in the room, right? There were people who kind of had some technical thing, but like if they would have said, raise your hand if you're a technical person, and if you're not, I would have been the only one that raised my hand, and you know that about me. But at first I was like, well, damn, I'm not going to have anybody to talk to, right? It was a super naive like mindset. Again, I went in, I really needed to fix my mindset. And while I was in the process of doing that, what I realized is I was shooting myself in the foot by only being around people who I identified with, the other technical people. Because I was like, well, it's not that I can't have a conversation with somebody non-technical. I'm not trying to sound like an ass.
Like a
But
hairdresser?
well, and we sat down and we talked, and I
Yeah.
was, tell me about what you do and everything. And there was one person who I specifically remember speaking to, who was probably by far the most non-technical human there, but she understood what I was going for, and I understood what she wanted to build. And not only was I able to give her advice that normally she would have had to pay somebody a lot of money in my seat to get at my level, because I've been past CTO and engineering leadership and all these things, I understand how to build empires because I've built them for other companies, my own. And not only was I aware that I had all of this knowledge, that it was so easy for me to share and what it could influence for others, but me being able to just share what I wanted to build and have somebody who also shared that ethos with me, but that didn't see the same way, be able to reflect it back. I fundamentally changed business direction because of it. I had clarity on what I was building because of it. I was able to tap into the genius of other people who had spent the same amount of time, multiple decades worth of time, understanding this one little niche piece. And if I was to go out and buy all of those consulting hours, I would be out of money with the business. It was a fascinating and gratifying realization. Like, I was like, wow, I am quickly paying this ROI back, because you just don't know what you don't know. Like, that's going to be a broken record theme in this until you are aware of it. And that was probably number two for me, was having these conversations and just understanding what's possible when you open yourself up and you're vulnerable, like vulnerable with passion. And the last one to mention is the probably the most fun success story of it all is I found my new business partner through it. R.T. Custer, who you'll meet in the previous or the next episode, depending on which which way these get rolled out. And we're going to be on them together as well. We met in Fast Foundations. We were both doing different things. and we got to know each other. We both found out that we were fathers. We had the same ethos again. We cared. We wanted to make a big impact in the world. Wanted to make a lot of money. Wanted to employ people. Wanted to be part of the change. Wanted to just do really fun things together. And we just saw that aspect in each other. And I also saw that he had a really cool watch on, so I had to talk to him about that. And then it came to find out that he built a watch company, and then we just got to know each other. So we were in Fast Foundations. He was growing his watch business. I was growing my consulting agency, which was the start of Carter and Custer back in the day in 2019. And we both got to know what each other really loved and what we did. And at one point, he stopped with Fast Foundations, and then at one point I stopped. And we both ended up joining Chris's elite mastermind, which is what he has for basically people who, let's just say, graduate Fast Foundations. They're at that revenue cutoff point. They need different type of support, different type of mentorship, kind of work a little bit more one-on-one with Chris. And for those of you listening, we will have Chris on one of these episodes to explain that. And we're going to have all kinds of different resources about masterminds here soon. But when RT and I both joined that mastermind, we didn't know each other were getting in there until we saw each other on like the first welcome call email
I
list.
didn't
And we're
know
like,
that.
that's really cool. We're both in it. Like we
Very
both
cool.
joined. And what I came to find when we were sitting down at that next event, well, first of all, we split a room because we were like, oh, cool, you're in this, like, easy. We were staying at some bougie hotel and it was too expensive anyway. So we're like, great, let's cut that cost in half. And we ended up realizing that we both needed the things that each other had to give. It was really that simple. He was building a digital marketing agency because he wanted to create really cool content and find really cool people and just continue to make that impact. And he's an amazing business development person. He loves the art of the sale, growing concepts. He's such a type A visionary. I freaking love that about the guy. But he struggled with operations. And while he could see everything, and see the future and get into that, it was hard. It wasn't impossible. It was just hard for him to oversee the growth of the company. So then on my side, I'm the operations guy, right? I'm your CTO from way back. I understand operations. Everything's put together. I had a vision for the company, what I wanted, but I needed somebody to help me think a little bit bigger. I wanted a complement. And I struggled on the sales side. Like, I'll be very, very honest. I'm not a self-identified salesman. I've done great and I will sell, and I do love selling when it's the right opportunity, but the thought of it gets me stuck. And again, it's because I'm an engineer. I like knowing the way that I'm going or engineering a path forward. In sales, you kind of don't know which way it's going to end up. So it was really hard for me to just kind of get over that mental block. So we both had these specialties and we both had these lacks. And we ended up just like laying on the beds at the end of the event, kind of fire hose mode, just like taking everything in. And we were like, dude, maybe we should just merge. This is like straight Game of Thrones style, like two houses come together. And we were like, that's actually so crazy that it might really work. And it was crazy enough that it actually worked. And that's kind of the antithesis of what led us to forming Carter and Custer Agency, which we're now so excited to make our impact together. He leads business development. I lead the agency side. Now RT is leading on the Fast Foundation side, because the mastermind is a great opportunity for us to find and just support entrepreneurs on their entrepreneurial journey. It fits into exactly what we love to do. And I never would have met the guy if we didn't show up in Fast Foundations and just raise our hand and say, this is what I do. This is what I'm great at. These are my dreams. Help. And because we were willing to stand up and be vulnerable in the best way in service and be willing to receive that feedback, that's what opened us up for now having a 7-figure business and continuing to grow it. And I couldn't be more grateful for it. And those are just 3 of, like, I could keep going. We could probably do 1 episode on each of these for the next year, because we all have these stories. And that's the most exciting piece of it, is it doesn't stop. As long as you're open to what's possible, anything is.
Mhm. So good. I love a good backstory. It's like some people like that books are written on backstories. Books are written on one-off chances of meeting people. It's like, that's such a great story, and I love that we're able to share that so that you guys listening can really get an understanding of where this podcast came from and where the mastermind is going, and the passion behind these two guys who have taken something. They both individually and together had these seven-figure businesses that they were running. Fast Foundations Mastermind was really not in the game plan. Taking on another business like this was not really probably something that, had they had an advisor that would have said, yeah, guys, you should totally do that. You have so much room on your plate for this extra. But when something has such deep rooted meaning to you and you know the impact of what it's had on your life, like how could you not carve out the time to make sure that you pay it forward? It's part of your ethos, like you just shared. And so I think when the days get hard and the hours go longer than expected, you're rooted in your why, and that is creating opportunity for other people and inviting people into the conversations to see what is possible for them, and just creating the space for us to have the room to grow. Because I guarantee, like, the majority of people have the hardest time asking for help. But I think one level deeper, it's sometimes we don't know exactly what we need help on. The stories that you shared around having the conversation with the unnamed person and how you were able to pour into them and them into you, that is, to me, the power of this mastermind in particular. Your one question, one interview with a person, or one interaction, or one introduction is the word I'm actually looking for, away from your next answer, to the next thing. It's not even about, like, I go in, I get the roadmap, I'm good. It's okay, I just need to know the next step I'm supposed to take, especially for like an engineer brain like you, but also for women like me who I want to know what's happening before I say yes to it. I need to know the plan before I'm going to get ready. So it works for both types of brains. And I think if we just go back to, I'm going to get my next answer. I'm going to get my next answer. I'm going to find out the next thing I need to know, and leaving it at that. You and I both kind of came in without massive expectation. We were at a point where we were so open to the next thing that I think that's why, unlike maybe some other people who had hard expectations on what they were going to quote get out of it, didn't have the same experience as us. So if you're listening and you're open to what's next and the possibility of growth and, meeting people and what does the next level look like for you, and you're curious about, well, yeah, I bet there are a lot of things I don't know that I don't know. This is the place for you. So in a way, Jim and I are similar with the sales, but I hope that was kind of a soft sell. I think the premise of this podcast is to just give you as much valuable information as possible so that you can make educated, informed, excited decisions about what you want to do with your life. And the thing that's really cool that both Jim and R.T. have decided to do with this resource library that's going to come with Fast Foundations is, you will be, if it's not us, then we will guide you to the next right person. And that's the beautiful thing about just getting curious and asking questions and putting yourselves in rooms, having this conversation. The resource library and kind of like our library of who's who in the industry and who's doing what. And RT is going to be having interviews with other high level people that run other masterminds to give you perspective of what is out there and why things like this are so important. So I think Jim's touched on a million reasons why it's worked for him and has been such an integral part of his growth in his business, his life. So can we leave anybody with some last parting words on this episode? Because like you said, there were so many legs we could sprout off on, and I'm going to go back and study what we talked about and figure out what our next point of reference will be for the next couple of episodes. But what can we leave them with today, Jim?
The best thing I'd love to leave you with is, if anything that was said today resonates with you, if you see yourself in my story or part of the story that Jess shared, and you're going to get lots more of her story as we go as well, reach out, have a conversation with us. You can DM us on Instagram. You can find me directly. I'm at Cause Hacker on all the socials. Or just go to fastfoundations.com and you can follow all of us from there. DM us from there, message us. You can find us, is what I'm saying, because we want to have these conversations with you because it means so much to us. This program may not be right for you, and that's okay. That's what this platform is for. We decided we wanted to make Fast Foundations, the podcast, the show, the resource, the website, the community, for entrepreneurs to find what they need. That's it. We just happen to have a community if it is for you. We just happen to have a mastermind for you if that's what you need. And we're going to keep growing that program because that's our give back. We know that it's scary. We know that there might be some things that might be holding you back, or maybe there's something about this that you're just not sure of, like you can ask those questions. And what I'm really excited too, Jess, is that you're going to be interviewing so many alumni like me, like RT, like the other coaches, like other people who have been here. And you're going to be getting so much great knowledge for what worked for them. And that's something that hasn't happened yet from the 350 plus people who have been through this program. We're not just talking about people who were part of an online community. These are humans like me and you that raised their hand, that paid the price, that joined, that showed up, that got on planes, that booked hotels, that went to events, that raised their hand, that had sweaty pits. Like all these people, if we draw a line down the middle of the room, this virtual room of all these 350 people, you've got this line of people who showed up and did the work, and then people who just realized it wasn't for them. We are going back, having conversations with all of them, and inviting the ones who are doing the work, who are showing up, who are putting that effort in, to just share what their story is, just like you asked me. So the ability for us to extract that knowledge, to share it with all of you, we're excited about that, and this is going to be really fun. It's going to be a really fun ride on this podcast. We can't wait.
So fun. I cannot wait. And if you are one of our past 300 plus alumni, reach out to me. Let's book your call and let's get out all the good stuff so we can share it with the people. Because that's the thing I'm most passionate about now, is having insanely interesting, epic conversations with interesting humans. And it's selfishly why I got into podcasting. So you guys, send me what you want to hear, things that are coming up in your business and your life, ways that we can help improve what it is that you're already doing. Ask that question that you think has already been asked a million times, but you need to hear it in a different way. No questions are off limits. Shoot me a DM, shoot Jim a DM. Our DMs are always open. So I guess until the
We're
next
good.
one.
Until the next. This is the first of many. Thank you so much, Jess.
Thank you guys.